Andy, I don't often get them, but occasionally my wife will treat me to a massage.
Oh yeah.
And so, yeah, have you gone to a massage like place or anything like?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I've enjoyed that. For, like,
I mean, like, do you do like deep tissue or like really?
yeah, yeah. I like elbows and forearms, and I had a guy. One of my first massages many years ago. The guy, his name was Thor, and he literally jumped up onto the table. His feet were on my like lower back, and as he was
That's
massaging, it was wild. And I, Dave, for a brief moment in time, I loved that man.
that's impressive. I mean, I enjoy them as well too. I enjoy some of the deep tissue stuff as well.
Yeah,
It just makes you realize how much, your body tenses up over time. I think I was talking about my shoulder thing,
yeah.
my shoulder too. This needle therapy, and like it's been awesome since then. And it just tells you like it's good. But um, let me ask, I mean, at any point during those times, did you think about exposing your junk or what? Like, did you like say, "Hey, I got an idea right now. Let me really rub my dick in front of this massages."
I didn't know where you're going, and then I realized where you were going. So at no point have I ever wanted to Deshaun Watson a masseuse. It never
Or
occurred.
Justin Tucker even, I
Well,
mean,
I thought that's where we were going, you know what I mean? So like there was no point where I was laying there, getting relief where I thought, hey, what would be fun for both of us right now? Let me go ahead and pull my wanker out and share it with this masseuse who's being paid for professional services that they're excellent at, providing me great relief. What they really want as a tip is to see my junk. Like that's what they're craving. That's what they
that's what they're
want.
craving.
Yeah, I mean, and so even though I knew they wanted it, I mean that was even though I know they wanted it, Dave, because obviously all masseuses want to look at their client's junk. I mean,
Of
obviously,
course.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I didn't do I didn't have the courage to Justin Tucker it up. I mean, I didn't have the courage just like, hey, I'm gonna flip over and pull my wanker out and just show it to you right now. I didn't do it. I know they wanted it though, because I mean, obviously, like male or
Cle-
female, if you're a masseuse,
Clearly, everybody.
obviously you want to look at my dick.
Yeah, but clearly. I mean, it takes me back to that movie Couples Retreat. Did you ever see this one with Vince Vaughn, like
Yes, yes,
Jason
yes,
Bateman,
yes.
and John Favreau's in it, and his wife Christy God, what's her name? She was a girl on one of the girls on Sex and the City, but they both got a massage,
Yeah.
and they were both like infidel, they both were, adulterers or whatever. And it just is funny how they were, you know, portrayed in this scene. John Favreau gets an erection. It's great, great. This is great podcasting, by the way, and this is a great way to start off the pod.
Hey, you got to talk about it. But I mean, you know what? I want to see one day because I genuinely feel bad for all of these professionals that have had to go through this. It's so wrong, right? It's so wrong. Just one time, 'cause I know they're caught off guard, and even though they've probably had it happen a couple times, like I know they're caught off guard. Just one time, as an act of self-defense, I just want one of them to just grab that junk like immediately and just start punching the shit out of it. You know what I mean? Like, can you imagine? Justin Tucker flips over and pulls his dick out, and the masseuse just grabs it and starts choking it out and just starts punching him in the dickhead a number of times. Like I would love for them to do that as an act of self-defense, and for that guy to walk out with a swollen, bruised cock and have to deal with the day that way. Like if you're a masseuse and you happen to be listening, like you should feel empowered to do that. Like that is an act of self-defense. If some jackass wants to pull his junk out, grab it, pull it, stretch it, punch it, hit it with something if you want. Like just go to town, man. Because what
Yeah.
are you gonna say? They flipped me over, and especially if you're a football player, they flipped me over, grabbed my junk and started to abuse me. Come on, come on. Self-defense. Punch him in the dick. I have, I
Uh,
have, I have, I have a cancer mug, literally. So that one of my coffee mugs, because that was my saying when I was going through treatment was I'm just going to kick it in the dick. And so I hope to all masseuses out there, I hope you just fucking punch him in the dick.
yeah, I mean, it's okay. Well, I mean, this is. I thought it'd be a good way to start open the show, but
Yeah. Happy Wednesday. Happy
yeah,
Wednesday.
happy Wednesday, everybody. We missed Monday, Andy. I on a personal side, I had to travel up to Pennsylvania. I had to see
Yeah,
my dad who had to be admitted to the hospital. He's back home now. Everything
that's
seems to
that.
be good, but we did miss our thing. So I want to give you I want to give you the floor just for a minute, Andy.
Yeah.
We talked your postings about President's Day versus George Washington's birthday. Give me the 30-second Cliff Notes version.
Yeah.
You know,
I
and,
appreciate that. It's an annual, I think, moment that we should pause and clear for people every time. So at the federal level and at most states around the country, the holiday is the George Washington birthday holiday because we're honoring George Washington, our first and finest president, a man who could have been king and chose not to be, unlike a man who was chosen as president who wishes to be king, not saying anything more than that. And so while we call it President's Day around the country and auto dealers love to sell you their cars for President's Day sales, the reality is, with the exception of some states to celebrate their own presidents along the way, some, Abraham Lincoln, for the majority of us is celebrating our finest president, George Washington. And really, especially in times like today, I think it's so important to recognize like who he was and what he did as president and what he chose not to do as president as an example. And we've often lost sight of history, and it's such important context for the times that we're in always. And so, really, I hope that folks will appreciate the legacy of George Washington, the goods and the bads. Maybe take a little time and look at the Mount Vernon website, learn a little bit about who he was. There's some great books out there about George Washington, and really just appreciate our, Virginia's first son and one of the greatest, servants to this nation in its very beginning. So, a truly remarkable man.
yeah, I feel like it's the shitty presidents who co-opted the holiday and said, "Hey, why does it got to be about just George Washington? It should be about all of us." Well, no.
No one's celebrating Tippecanoe and Tyler too on,
Yeah.
on Washington's birthday, right? We're not. I always like to use Millard Fillmore, right? The man who like just skated by, waiting for the Civil War to happen on somebody else's watch. We're not celebrating Martin Van Buren. Wasn't a bad guy, but not the guy we're celebrating today. And to be honest, we're not celebrating Teddy Roosevelt or Franklin Roosevelt or George H.W. Bush or George W. Bush or Ronald Reagan or Bill Clinton or any of the other guys that have come along in the more recent years. This is a day about George Washington. I will say there is a congresswoman from New York who's put in legislation to take Donald Trump's birthday as a national holiday because there aren't enough congressmen slobbering on his knob in enough ways right now. So it's just unbelievable. But David, it's probably enough time on it. But I appreciate a chance to point it out. Great American, worth celebrating.
We choose to celebrate on this podcast George Washington's
Right.
birthday. So
That's
thank
right.
you, Andy, for that. Okay, so let's speak about the current president and the current things happening around the world. Let's go up to Ukraine first, Andy.
All right.
Over the weekend, the president sent his entourage over to Europe for the Munich Security Conference,
Yeah.
and pretty much just told Europe, "Hey, look, you gotta man up. You gotta start defending yourselves. We're not going to be back on your backside anymore. If you want to support Ukraine, if you want to support against Russia, it's time you guys started committing your budget to it, and started to build a defense. I look in a lot of ways, a lot of people were took back at this and were shocked about it. But in many ways, I think this is a positive development, and not positive in the way that it was handled. Maybe I think that could have probably been done a little bit better than standing up JD Vance getting up there and lecturing
Yeah.
Europe. But at the same time, um, it does call out, hey, look, America's not going to be here for you. Like, well, I think we've shown now over two Trump presidencies, America's not for the world. America's for first, America first. That's what they voted for. That's what they get. Europe, you need to stand up and defend yourself. Thoughts on that, Andy? Because then I want to go into Ukraine.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the reality is over the last 12-ish years, right, we have become an unreliable part of the world, right?
Yep.
Because whether, I think with Trump's first term, I think the world sort of wrote it out. But then going to Joe Biden, coming back to Donald Trump, kind of seeing where the Republican Party is today, not even criticizing the decisions being made. I do have criticisms of the way that's being conducted and some decisions are being made. but we've just become unstable and unreliable as a partner. We're threatening to leave NATO. We're in NATO. We're threatening to leave NATO. We support yourselves. We're going to go direct and make conversations with Russia and China and box out Europe and Ukraine for that matter. It's just a way of doing diplomacy that is not a good friend and partner to nations around the world. Not even being critical of it, just that's reality. And so I think, even post Donald Trump, if there is a post Donald Trump, I think we're not a reliable partner. Like we can't be counted on to be part of a 10, 15, 20-year vision because we become so wishy-washy. That's not good for the world. That leads to instability. That leads to opportunity for mischief makers. It leads to opportunities for authoritarians who stay in power for much longer, right? And we're not being consistent in our foreign policy. So it does create a challenge. And I think it does create a situation where Europe really does have to look a little bit more at themselves and say, okay, we're going to have to defend the European continent. And, it's not World War II. We're not going to count on Roosevelt and the United States to come in and save us. And I think that's reality moving forward. I think they have to figure out how to do more to protect themselves and not count on the United States of America. And I'm not happy about that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I definitely we're not a real partner anymore. I mean, and look, that's a choice you make. And you brought up an interesting point, and I think I call this out with a lot of the USA AID piece. And I know it got a lot of hubbub because Musk and Doge went in there and like, look at all this waste that we're doing. We're sending condoms to Gaza.
Yeah,
Never mind that it's a part of an AIDS prevention strategy in Africa, not in the Middle East. Those are the type of misinformation
yeah,
stuff where these individuals can get so easily fooled and so easily thought into like, look at all the money I'm saving you that does. But what happens when you remove that aid and is that somebody has to come in and fill that gap, right? And what is happening now is we have an access, and if you can't see playing out in Ukraine now, you're an idiot. Sorry, idiots out there, but you're an idiot. Russia's waged a war leveraging Iranian drones and equipment because they're running out of equipment. They're leveraging North Korean soldiers, and China is using them as well to, promulgate their mischief around the world as well. So you have an axis of four countries here, all just like basking in the idiocy of what some of our decision making is being and pulling away from that. The term "it's in our national interest," everyone was like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, what is our national interest? Our national interest is peace and stability so our economy can continue to grow, so that our people around the world are free, and so that we have a lot of opportunities around the world. When you pull back from that, again, something has to fill that gap. And if you're going to tell Europe they need to man up and defend themselves, they're going to focus on Europe too. I mean, the Europe is going to focus on Europe. And that's going to leave these exposures around the world where, guess what, Andy? What has history shown us time and time again? That when you leave power unchecked, it starts to creep into other areas. Look at
yeah,
what, all of these places around the world, all throughout history. We choose not to do that now. So in 10 or 15 years from now, we could be facing very real consequences of this pullout. And I think that's what people fail to understand. Yes, America first, America first. I get it. I want that money to be spent in America too. We have a lot of issues here too, but you can't just pull out all the way, Andy. So
yeah. I mean, Dave, we all know pulling out doesn't work. You need proper protection, right? And
proper protection.
true in sexual activity, true in national defense. There's ideals, right? There's ideals where ideally we wouldn't have to have U.S. troops deployed outside of the United States, right? I would personally love to see us be able to bring troops home, be stationed domestically, not be deployed overseas, and be able to rapidly deploy overseas if we needed. I would love to see that, but there is a reality to deal with, and so there's ideals, and then there's real politic, right? There's reality around us having to do things that maybe we don't ideally want to do, but recognizing the consequences of not doing some of these things. And so when we leave, somebody else, like you said, will come in and fill that space. They will gain influence. That can come in a negative effect to the United States over time, right? If we pull out of Africa and we lose the relationships and the friendships, and we impact trade, somebody else will benefit from filling that space to the detriment of the United States of America. And so while there's ideals we might want. Like there might be things we'd say, hey, in a perfect world, we would do this. We have to deal with the reality around us and the reality of other nations who will fill space and take action in our absence, and that those have maybe greater negative consequences for these United States than doing things that maybe go against our ideal preferences. That's the challenge of politics. It's having ideals, having principles, staying faithful to what you believe, but finding ways to get things done that might make you have to compromise a little bit. Not compromising who you are, what you believe, but compromising with the reality around you, right? With other parties, with other beliefs, with other nations. And I don't think we're doing a very good job of that. We're pretty much saying, hey, we're the bull in the china shop. We'll do whatever the hell we want to do. Deal with it. That might seem exciting, but at the same time, it's going to have consequences. And I don't think we're thinking through or appreciating those consequences. In the long term, it hurts us.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. And I think it just plays out in look, again, we when we don't want to learn our history, we don't want to understand our history, and only look in the moment. I'm sorry. I mean, we're doomed to repeat itself. I mean,
Yeah.
that's how the adage goes. Andy, go with me on this one, okay?
Yeah.
Just flow with me here. A couple months back, Andy, your neighbor. You explained to me your neighbor like encroached on your backyard. They started taking a little bit of your yard there. They built that fire pit. You didn't really like it. I was with you, 100% with you. In fact, a couple of your other neighbors were with you too. But like I was fully, I gave you my lawyer's name. I gave you a couple bucks to kind of build that fence, even though it was a little awkward looking. But I did that, right? I think that was good. But I don't know, Andy. I've been talking to your neighbor lately, and I think you really provoked this, Andy. Like
Yeah.
you
I
open
started.
up your gym, open up your garage to converting your gym. I didn't think you really liked that, and in fact, I really question whether you actually own that home in the first place. So I really like. I have to tell you, Andy, this was really your fault,
Yeah.
and I'm now with your neighbor.
Yeah.
And so I hate to break it to you. In fact, I've been talking to your neighbor the last couple of weeks, and I think we have settled out how we're going to deal with it.
Yeah.
You're just going to have to take it, okay? Just we're going to
Can I
put
be in
the
the
new fence.
conversation? Can I be in the conversation? Or
No, no, no. The construction crew will be here tomorrow. So they're gonna put up that fence. You're losing, 25% of your yard. I mean and I even talked to the government, Andy, like they're gonna come out and redraw the property lines. It will just make it like it's good. I talked to Google,
okay.
Apple, Zillow, like it's all gonna be updated online. So it's official now, Andy. So I'm sorry to say that go with me on this one, but
I
that is
think
what is effectively happening in Ukraine. Maybe it's a little bit of a stretch, Andy,
yeah.
but Ukraine's responsible for the Russian invasion, just like everything else around the world, Andy.
Yeah. It's a pretty remarkable thing when our executive branch is parroting Russian talking points. One meeting in
It's
Saudi Arabia,
amazing.
and we walk out echoing Putin's talking points. It's remarkable. Where Ukraine started the war. Dave, we watched Putin build up on Ukraine's border. The Biden administration was saying, this guy's going to invade. Dave, I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it. Like, I thought it was deliberate influence. I thought it was deliberate threats to get negotiations. As a security professional, I thought this isn't going to happen. The Biden administration said, look, the intelligence is all pointing, Putin's going to invade. Putin's going to invade. Unprovoked, Putin invaded. Now, some people want to say, well, Ukraine did this and Ukraine did that. If you want to pull the string of history back far enough, everybody's fucked everybody over a million times. Like that's like everybody, like history is ugly. We're dealing with the reality of today. Ukraine was minding their own business, essentially, operating, the nation for the people there. Important partner to the world, right? From agriculture, as a trading partner, right? We have a lot of Americans that come from Ukraine all around the world. There's people from Ukraine, and Russia invaded. And to hear the Trump administration say that Ukraine started this war is just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. And so I'm not sure. Like, I mean, I need to dig into more of what was said and how, how we're conducting ourselves here and what we're moving towards. But a forced peace saying, "Hey, screw you," whether that's telling Ukraine to accept new borders or the Palestinian people to, "Hey, just relocate, just get the fuck out of your homeland and go to Jordan," or whatever sort of other like dismissive, disrespectful, irresponsible, again, absent of understanding consequences. Like, this is not smart foreign policy. And again, it shows that America is not a good friend to the world. Look, we're giving up our leadership in the world to become a bully to the world. And we're giving up our soft power influence. Dave, the days of blue jeans, Coca-Cola, and McDonald's as part of our key diplomatic engagement with the world, like that's falling apart, right? People are not seeing America and America's brand as a friend. They're not seeing the red, white, and blue as a partner, right? They're looking to China as their good, reliable partner. In the long term, these are going to have serious detrimental consequences to Americans internationally, from a safety standpoint, from an economic standpoint. It's really remarkably uh, disappointing. I'll say disappointing for rather than going into a lot of other words that I could use.
Well, if I could, like, continuing the sex theme we've had so far today,
Oh,
Andy, I mean, it's like and look, should we expect that from this president who is a convicted, who's been convicted on a couple of counts here, but it's accusing the rape victim of wanting it, and it's accusing them of provoking it by dressing sexy and stuff like that. And I think that type of mentality, again, my background, Andy, I was an intelligence officer for many years in the United States government and the military. What is being done, and just the how complicit is, like, you said it, parroting talking points. That's like a classic information operation that is being now done at our highest level. And like, if we're not shocked by that, and if we're not outraged by that, like, I mean, how blinded are you to what is happening around you? How lack of awareness do you have to see this is playing out? I mean, Putin's a master, and he is just fucking unbelievably co-opted our president. It's amazing. But I know, no, it's the president who's playing Putin. I know. So never mind. So
yeah. I mean, it's they don't want to come on and talk about Captain America today. Instead, you've got me talking about everything not Captain America. I mean,
we're going to talk about that in a minute, Andy. But
unbelievable. I mean, like it's so disheartening. It's so disheartening to see this. Like sometimes the president will say things and then come back and address them again, but he pretty much sticks with his talk. Like once he says something, he's pretty much like locked in and committed to it. I want to see him. I want to see his administration like address these comments over the next couple of days. I want to see them elaborate on these comments that Ukraine shouldn't have started war with Russia. Like I want to hear the administration defend those comments, elaborate on those comments, tell us how Ukraine started the war with Russia. I mean, Dave, again, I know people get tired of 1984, comparisons, but Dave, like in the story, right? The government changes who they're at war with and who they've always been at war with. We're never at war with this side. We were always with this side. We were always against that side. It's the same kind of nonsense of what we're seeing now, right? It's like, oh no, no, Russia didn't start the war. Ukraine started the war. It's not reality, but people will embrace it. Like there will be supporters of the president who are like, yeah, fucking Ukraine started that war. Russia's just defending themselves. I was like no, like that's not real. But it becomes part of the conversation. It's frustrating. The party that was screaming about misinformation and weaponization for the last 4 years has absolutely led the weaponization of government at multiple levels right now. And that's not good for America. It is not good for these United States.
yeah, yeah. All right, Andy, let's move because we have depressed talk. We have to talk about these things because it is like we can't be ignorant of what's happening around us. But Andy, you are wearing a Captain America shirt. You're wearing the shield.
Yes.
You were talking about going to see Captain America Brave New World.
Yeah.
Give us your reaction, Andy. What'd you think?
Very well done.
Oh,
Honestly,
good.
very well done. I went in with almost no expectation. I just didn't know where we were and what I was going to see. Deliberately, like I knew Red Hulk was going to be in it. I didn't really know much more. Kind of tried to avoid knowing too much going in. It was a good, entertaining couple of hours. Good action, fun story. Red Hulk was cool to see. Harrison Ford and Marvel. Anthony Mackie did a great job. You know, Captain America, um, Falcon. Like it was great. Like it was fun. It was good entertainment, and it was a fine standalone movie. Like you can go and see that having never seen a Marvel movie and never going to see a Marvel movie again. You don't need the old movies, and if you go see the future movies, like you don't need to see this one to appreciate the future ones, right? That being said, what they did so well is it's a great pivot piece as they bring together storylines from movies that a lot of folks didn't necessarily love, right? I'm not going to get into details. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but they thread together a couple older storylines, some not necessarily so old, but maybe not appreciated movie storylines, bring them together in a way that's really well done that I think those that have seen the movies will really appreciate. And they point from this movie to the future of the MCU, from pointers to Avengers, pointers to X-Men, not critical in those storylines, but you can see it. And it's like, well done. Like well thought out, well done. Really, you can really appreciate it at multiple levels, whether you're a Marvel geek or not at all. And it was fun to watch. And so I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good action-packed movie. It was a good standalone movie, but it was also really good as part of the continuity of the MCU. So well done to all involved. I enjoyed it. My family enjoyed it. Also, this Dave, I don't know if you did you see any Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary special?
I saw a lot of it. I didn't see all of it, but
Did you
yeah.
see Drunk Uncle?
Oh, I think no, I
So,
didn't.
if for those that might know Drunk Uncle, great. If you don't know, it's one of the characters. But he was a regular on Weekend Update, and he's sort of this, you're this alcoholic coming on the set drunk, saying inappropriate things. Pretty funny character. And so he was on this weekend, and there's a moment where he's, sort of mumbling to himself, and he's talking about something else altogether, and he just like mumble, 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 not my Captain America. And it was hilarious, right? Because here's Anthony Mackie, right? African American male playing Captain America and the transition in the post Steve Rogers world. Some people don't love it, but what this movie did is it embraced Anthony Mackie's reality, right? He's not a super soldier serum guy, right? He doesn't have superpowers. He's a human. He's an American who loves his country, right? In the uniform, and that's part of the story, and it's really well done. I really enjoyed it. I really appreciated the movie. It was fun. And Saturday Night Live for the most part was pretty fun too, by the way. But that it was a good movie. I encourage folks to check it out, whether you want to see it at the theater or stream it later. A good movie, and it's pointing us in a real nice direction for the MCU.
Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. I've heard mixed reactions, but the audience scores have come in really well. I think for in reality, I think just the nerd culture sometimes, and look, I'm a closet nerd. I enjoy this type of stuff, but I'm not all in nerd. And I think what you said is somebody who like appreciates the Marvel universe, appreciate all that goes on, but at the same time is you're not all in where you complain about, oh, this one piece of his wing was different than the comic book and therefore I can't like it, I hate it, and all this other stuff. So I can appreciate that perspective. So I'm gonna have to give it a look. I'm gonna have to check it out, and see how it goes. Regarding SNL 50, I thought it was awesome. It was, I mean, I didn't watch the whole thing because I had to travel early the next morning,
Yeah.
had to get my beauty sleep and everything. But I do think that they did a really nice job on that. I think they pulled together a lot of nice pieces. Adam Sandler was great.
Yeah.
Just they so many great performances. And I love seeing the people who just popped into a skit. It was a lot of fun. So
Well, yeah, absolutely good. Any other like favorite that jumped out at you?
Uh, uh, no, not particularly. I mean, I enjoyed the what was it, the wedding reception one where they did a little of the singing there and revealing some inappropriate things that happened on the Bachelor or the Bachelorette parties. But I mean, Adam Sandler stood out. I thought he was great. I mean, so I don't know, but I just thought overall it was a classy night for 50 years, Andy.
Yeah,
So.
I agree. It was fun. We didn't watch the very end of it. Just time ran away from us. We didn't watch the very end of it. But I thought Adam Sandler did do a really good job. I would have liked to hear him hit some of those high Adam Sandler crazy notes a little bit. But I also thought, I mean, Eddie Murphy did a better Tracy Morgan than Tracy
Oh
Morgan.
my
That
God.
was fantastic. I didn't know Eddie was going to be on. Loved Eddie Murphy on SNL, and like God, that was just like that was great. I mean, he was a great Tracy Morgan. So
The
I'm
fact
glad
that Tracy Morgan was then right next to him
it was
too was
insane.
like
It
it
was
was
insane.
insane. I was like, "What is happening here? This is awesome. This
Yeah,
is
it was
awesome."
hilarious. It was hilarious. So, yeah, I'm glad we could end today's pod on a more positive note, Dave. So, well done.
Yeah, and I think Will Ferrell was announced as like one of the the cast members like top pick.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, Will Ferrell or I mean, I think Eddie Murphy honestly had a larger impact, but for a lot of people, Will Ferrell is like the icon there.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
he spans so many. He was at Bridge period, and now he's gone on to even greater things, and
yeah,
so. A lot of fun with SNL. Bill Murray, I mean, it could have
yeah.
been up there too, but Eddie Murphy, just I forgot about that skit. That was that Black Jeopardy. That was great.
It's hilarious. Yeah, it's hilarious. So,
So all right, Andy, we did a lot today. It was a lot of
yeah.
action-packed podcast, a lot of discussions. Mama Jabor will be happy because we didn't talk a whole lot of sports today. So we didn't talk sports. We talked a little politics. I'd be interested in Mama Jabor's view. Is she going to buy some real estate
Oh, yeah,
on,
she's eating it up. Yeah, she's super psyched. Yeah.
yeah, okay. That's what I figured. So, all right, Andy, with that, I will catch up with you on Friday.